Hey guys, it's our last episode of Below the Surface for 2019. Our guest today is Nathan Schokker, the founder and CEO of Talio. Nathan talks to me about his journey from commercial cleaner to entrepreneur, and also how he turned the worst time in his life into the opportunity to start his own company. Join me as Nathan discusses the ins and outs of running Talio, including running the business without an office and just operating from an iPhone and an iPad. It's amazing how much the business landscape is changing. This is an inspirational story of someone with resilience, ambition, and a big heart. I'd like to thank you all for joining me on the journey this year with our first series of Below the Surface. It's been an amazing year. We've met some incredible people and been able to share some really amazing stories with you all. So thank you so much. And if you've missed any of the past episodes, please go back and check them out on Spotify and also now YouTube, that we've turned it into a video series. So please join me as we dive below the surface with Nathan Schokker. Nathan Schokker from Talio, thank you so much for joining us.
No worries. Thanks, Dan.
So, mate, I wanted to get straight into it and talk to you about success, because success means different things to different people.
Yep.
What does success mean to you?
Success means happiness for me. Absolutely. Is got to be happy with what you've done and what you're doing. Because, I've seen so many people that are successful, but they're not happy at all. And what's the point of it?
That's it, right? You can have all the money in the world, you can have all the material assets in the world, but if you don't have your happiness, then what's the point? You know? And so what makes you happy?
What makes me happy? Took me a long time to figure this out, especially being in my own business and other stuff that I'm a part of. What makes me happy is, and I think this is what makes me successful in my business, is solving people's problems and making people happy. That's what success is.
And that makes you happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But nothing more I get a buzz out of than solving a really hard problem or solving something that's a bit complex, but then seeing people happy with the result. Yeah. And like seeing, especially face to face, like that feeling, that vibe you get off that person when they've got a big smile on their face, and you can tell their whole mood's almost flipped and they're happy. And I'm like, how can you not be happy with them being happy?
Isn't it amazing how when I ask you about what makes you happy, you talk about making other people happy? I think that's such a great state of mind. You know, I've been on my own journey and kind of realized that nothing you ever really do for yourself or get for yourself creates true happiness. It might make a glimmer of happiness, or short-term happiness, but it doesn't create like a long-term happiness or fulfillment. Yeah. And the only thing it ever really does is actually doing things for other people.
Definitely. Yeah. Definitely.
And then I randomly went to this Buddhist kind of teaching last night, actually. It's this random fly that I saw and kind of ended up at this thing. And anyway, they were talking about happiness. And they were talking about that happiness is actually a state of mind. It's actually a choice of choosing to be happy. Because if you rely on anything making you happy, it probably won't. But just choosing to be happy in any situation, no matter whether things are good or bad, is the way to actually get to true happiness. Cool. And I was like, coming from a Buddhist monk, that's probably pretty good. There's probably like something that I can take away from that.
Yeah, I think they figured it out.
I think they probably have, right? This is this concept that's been running for 2,500 years. And essentially it was let go of thinking that some things are good and some things are bad. Okay. They're just things. Yep. Just choose to be happy.
Right. Okay. So let go of any emotion.
Let go
around anything.
Correct. Let go of any attachment to some things are good and they'll make you happy, and some things are shit and they'll make you unhappy.
Profound.
It's kind of profound, right? I bet you didn't know we were going to go there. I didn't know we were going to go there. I just kind of got invited to this thing last night and I was like, what is it? Like an interesting theory.
Yeah, I'll brew on that for a while.
Yeah, brew on that for a while. Anyway, mate, let's talk about your journey, because it's really impressive. You've gone from commercial cleaner to now running Talio, team of 30 odd people. Mate, can you tell us about the journey?
So I started way back when, so almost 20 years ago. Next year it'll be 20 years. I started as a cleaner myself, working weekends and school holidays.
What led you to that?
Yeah, just sort of to earn a bit of money, really. Just a job that was easy, flexible, worked around sort of life and school, like because I was still in high school, obviously. And
right, okay, so you're at school and you got a job doing commercial cleaning.
Bingo. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And then so I was a cleaner for like 4 to 5 years, and then coming out of high school, started a bit of university study. So I started doing more cleaning work, a lot of like night cleaning. So lots of working by yourself and cleaning up other people's messes, that teaches you a lot about what people are like as well.
I bet, yeah.
Whilst I was studying, and then I would have got about maybe 18 months into studying, and I thought, this isn't for me.
What were you studying?
I was doing international business and economics.
Right.
Because I wanted to be an economist. And just into the study, I just felt that it'd be interesting going back to uni now and sort of seeing how people teach. But I honestly felt that I knew a lot more than what those people that were meant to be teaching me. And I remember, in particular, so there was a management course, and at the time I was just starting to supervise staff and people. And
your staff, or you were working for someone else still at this point?
Working for someone else at that point.
Yep.
And I remember like learning all of these like management theories, and they'd sort of be like, oh, well, if you have someone that's difficult, then you go through these steps, and this is what motivates people. And I'd be like, this is not true at all. Like, this is baloney.
Yeah.
And I remember challenging one of the tutorers or lecturers, and the person was like, well, that's what's in the book. And I was sort of like, oh, I didn't get the feeling that this person had managed people. And I'm like, so why are you teaching me, and why are we reading out of this book if it's not legit, if it's not actually going to help? So I just went, well, that's it. Let's put uni on hold and let's just focus on working. And so then over the next few years, I progressed up through the business I was working within. So I sort of went through like supervisor, area supervisor, operations manager, and then my last role with that business was national operations manager. So I'd worked in that business for that business for a bit over 13 years.
Wow.
And then had the opportunity to start my own business, and that was like almost 6.5 years ago now. So I started in August of 13.
You said you had the opportunity to start your own business. Like, talk us through that period.
So the reason why I use that word opportunity, and it might be a bit of my inner Buddhist coming out, going back to what you were talking about. I talk about it as an opportunity because honestly, it's probably like the worst part of my life.
Yep. Great.
Deadly honest.
Let's talk about it.
So the business that I worked for, so I worked with them for 13 years, 2 months and 8 days. Done the rough sums, I'd worked like 50,000 hours of my life in that business over that time. As you heard, I progressed up through the business, and the owners and the founders of that business they'd sort of set forward a path and sort of for succession of like, well, this will be, you have the opportunity to have this as your business, and there would be some sort of transition, or they would retain some sort of ownership, stakeholder in it for the long term, which I was fine with. There was no worries with that. The last day I ever worked for them, it was a Monday afternoon, got called by the managing director. He said, I'll come back to the office and we need to have a meeting. So I got back to the office and sat down in the director's office, and the managing director of the business started that meeting and said, by the end of today, you either would have been terminated effective immediately, or you'll resign effective immediately. And that, like, your reaction says it all. I didn't know what to say or what to do, and even in that moment, I still felt fiercely loyal to that business, that I'd done so much in my life to look after them, to give that business my best, that and some people said I shouldn't have done it, but I went okay, and I wrote out my resignation on the spot, shook their hand and left, and that was it. And that was 13 years, 2 months, 8 days ended.
And what led to that?
For me,
what was in the lead up in the days, weeks, months coming to that meeting?
For me, I've gone over it in my mind thousands of times, and I still can't.
You still don't
really
know 6.5 years on.
Find a really clear answer to it.
Wow. They've never spoken to you. You've never spoken to them.
No, very limited communication from that point. What made it really the worst moment of my life was that the managing director of that business, he's my father. So I worked in a family business, and then that was the end of it.
Wow.
So, so to go back to where this started, so I say opportunity because if I said it like it really was, I think people, may not they may not respond too well to me saying, well, I started my business because I went through the shittest part of my life, and here I now am. I say opportunity because I had the opportunity.
It's led you to where you are now, right?
Yeah.
So do you still talk to your dad, or?
Very, very little little over that time. Obviously something like that, it does a lot of damage to a lot of relationships. So I also have two sisters as well. They both were working in that business at the time as well. So there was 5 of us in the family in that business, and that sort of stuff. So, and I'm the only one not there now. So, so it's made all of those relationships really, really tough to do. And it's, I don't know if things will change or get better, or if time will heal wounds or anything like that. This time of year is always a bit more complex. Christmas, because almost everyone thinks of Christmas with family and that sort of stuff, and that's it starts to, certainly this time of year starts to sort of churn those feelings up, and that sort of stuff. And it's
I think Christmas time's a really difficult period for a lot of people, to be honest.
Imagine,
on Christmas Day this year, I'm volunteering in the morning for some, I don't know, it's like 100 or 200 refugees. And there's like a community centre, and we're putting on a big breakfast thing for them, and
that's brilliant.
And they've kind of got no one, and so to go and be able to do something for those people, and you feel a lot better personally when you see how shitty some other people's situations are. You know, like that doesn't take away anything from your situation, my situation, or many other people's. But fuck, when you see other people's, you're like, whoa. I've actually got things pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think Christmas is a really difficult time for a lot of people. There's a lot of pressure, and the whole world comes to a stop, and you can't hide in your business any longer, really, because people aren't taking your calls.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
What was the period? What happened straight after that, and then what happened to lead you to open your own business? How long passed in between?
So the first thing I had to do was I had to figure out how to get home that afternoon, because company vehicle and company phone and all of that sort of stuff. And that was literally all just handed over on the spot. So I had to, the first thing was literally just get home. That night was, it was obviously a lot of thinking that night. And then the next few weeks were just a lot of contemplation of, it was like thinking like what happened. Obviously, like you sort of just replaying that whole scenario in your mind over and over, but then you sort of got to be realistic of like, well, where to from here? So I sort of thought, well, should I go back to university and pick up studies? Should I go work for someone else? Should I get a job somewhere? And then it was like, well, what job would I go and get? What would I do?
Was there ever any time that you just felt like giving up during that period?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. 100%. Yeah, it's I would like for honestly the next 12 months of my life, that was really some of the darkest moments of my life. Just wondering what it was all for, what all this hard work and sacrifice and all of the stuff that you go through, what was all of that for? What was what was the sum of it? Was the sum just to get to that point where you're like at the bottom of your life and you're like, how is that any good? Sort of thing. So,
and what was the turning point?
It would have been a couple of weeks later, and I caught up with a couple of people that I built a good, like a strong friendship with, sort of during my years years prior. And then towards the end of the lunch, they were like, well, what's next? Where are you off to? What's going on? And I said, I don't know. I said, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do it. And I said to them, I said, what do you guys think? And they both sat there and they said, Nathan, they said, no matter what you decide to do, they said, we will find our way through the business that they are a part of to support you. We will give you whatever business we can give you. During this time, I'd sort of thought, well, should I go and start my own business, whatever it would be? And I effectively pitched them what Talio looks like now. And I said, what if I started a business that looked like XYZ? And I didn't have a business name. I had like literally nothing. I said, what would you think about that? I said, that's cool. That's a good business. And they said, oh, come to our office on Monday. We've got a property you can look after. I went, you're like legit? And they said, yeah, the keys will be ready for you on Monday. And sure enough, showed up on Monday and they gave me a set of keys and they said, here's the address. You know what you're doing. And that was...
That was the start.
Yeah, that was it.
How
that
cool.
And then it was a quick like, okay, well, I got to figure out what do I call my business? What does the logo look like? And then it was like, shit, how do I register a business?
Yeah. Okay, so you got like handed some keys and, now we've got a team of 30.
Yeah.
Continue that journey, and then what kind of happened from? Because this is really fascinating, and there's so many takeaways.
Sure.
Yeah.
So for at least the first 6 months, maybe 8 months, I literally did everything in the business. So any work we picked up, it was me doing it. So I was out during the day meeting with clients, and then nighttime would come, and I'd put it on the work gear, and I'd go and do all the work at night. So that was, and on weekends and all of that sort of stuff. So that first, 6 to 8 months was like really grueling, obviously. Lots of hard work, both physically and mentally and emotionally, still like just processing
dealing with everything,
all of that. Top it off. So during that period as well, and I can't remember exactly when it all started, but it went for quite a period of time, was that so my former employers decided to then take legal action against me because I was starting a business that was, in their eyes, they felt I was a direct competitor, that I was trying to take work off them, even though I wasn't. So they were pursuing me for that as well. So that was another layer of like emotional turmoil. But then also financial turmoil as well, because you're then paying for lawyers, like thousands of dollars you're paying for lawyers to sort of fight this fight and go through this sort of tit for tat sort of thing. So that first 12 months in business was super tough.
So what happened after that 12 months?
I think it's really, for me, I can't pinpoint an exact turning point and being like, one day it was bad, then the next day it was good. I think it was just a lot of progressive, just little steps, little steps that whole way. Some of them would be like getting to the point where like I didn't actually have to physically go out at night or on the weekend to do the work. So that takes huge amount of hassle off you.
And what drove you to do that? Because a lot of people in their businesses are like flat strap and they are doing everything. So you were doing everything, quoting all day, cleaning all night.
Yeah.
What made you get to the point where were you just so busy and you were working so much, you thought, you know what, I can actually afford to pay someone to do? Is that kind of
pretty much? Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
And it was
just out of necessity. You hired someone.
Yeah, and it was that realization of like, I wasn't going to be able to do it all by myself for the rest of my life.
Yeah, no.
Not if I wanted the business that I really wanted to have.
Yep.
Like if I wanted to just be a sole operator and just work for myself and still earn a good income, then I could have done that and I could have pursued that. And I'm sure I would have found happiness in it somewhere, but that wasn't my desire. I wanted to create a business that employed other people and helped other people.
Yep. And then how did you get from 2 to 5, 10, 30? I mean, you've got a huge business now.
Yeah, it's I've never had a business plan in my business at all. So it's always been very organic. I suppose is sort of the best word for it. Like realistically, the one thing that I've tried to always carry through like my life personally and also my business is say yes to opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
Someone comes to you with an opportunity, say yes.
Figure it out later.
Yeah, absolutely. It's because a guy that I know that's been in business for 30, 40 years, he said to me, if someone comes to you with an opportunity, in their mind, you've already said yes. That's why they're asking you. So if you say no, it's not just disappointment that you're giving them. They will then, for future opportunities, they'll shy away from you and they'll start to go, oh, maybe this person isn't the right person to talk to. And then before you know it, no one's coming to you with those opportunities and they're all going to someone else. So, and
it's really good advice,
you'll sort of
actually.
you'll go from there. And for me, I think certainly following that has led to, I've certainly said yes to a number of opportunities that haven't been ideal for me, but those have then led to opportunities that are perfect. For my business or for my life or whatever it is, certainly. So,
I mean, I love the concept. Just say yes. Say yes, figure it out later.
Yeah.
So you started your business. I don't know if anything's changed, but I understand that you ran the entire thing from your phone and an iPad.
Still do.
No office?
This is the iPad right
That is
here.
the office?
Here we go. We'll show the camera. iPad.
That's the office. Here's the phone.
And here's the phone. That's it. Literally, that's it. And
That's it.
Still to this day, that's how I run it.
How important do you think it is for business people and entrepreneurs to have an office in today's day and age?
I would say not important at all. Like unless you have people that insist on coming to visit you, then I think it's got some importance. But for me and my business, I've 6.5 years in, I've never had anyone ask to come and see me and visit me at all. And because I see that not only my value in the business, but all of my guys within my business, guys and girls, I should say, our value is on our clients' sites. Like my value to them isn't sitting behind a desk. Yeah, so it's I don't think it's anywhere near as important as what some people make it out to be. It comes with its challenges. You have to be disciplined with it to be able to work.
You work from home?
Almost anywhere. I do a bit of work from home, and then it's sort of like
out and about.
Cafes and coffee shops.
Nice.
And, sort of little places tucked away here and there.
I've worked the same way for a really long time. I mean, no one's ever cared less. I love the flexibility of doing work wherever I want. I don't operate off an iPad and a phone, but I operate off a laptop and a phone. And I mean, again, I think for our business real estate, you're adding value when you're in people's properties. Or when you're on the phone, neither of which require an office.
Totally, absolutely.
You seem like you're a bit of a workaholic. Would that be a fair assessment?
Got me in one.
And you mentioned off air that you've lost friendships and relationships because of that. I mean, do you feel like you've sacrificed a lot to get to where you are today?
There's heaps of misunderstanding between people that decide to go and forge your own path in business or in life, and those that that decide to work for someone else, which is fine. And I think often like those two sides are played off against each other in society, in the media.
Absolutely.
There's always like that. Well, the boss is getting away with all this money. Aren't they living it up? And you're like, if you could really see what the boss gets like in their bank account, I think a lot of employees would be like, geez, they really don't get away with it at all.
And not only that, but what it costs, other than money. And that's kind of what this series has been about. And we've had the real privilege of interviewing a lot of amazing business owners like yourself this year about the personal cost it takes to grow a business and succeed. And I mean, it's fabulous. It's one of the best things in the world. I've worked for myself now for 8 years. I'd rather punch myself in the face than work for someone else. I love working for myself. But there's a real price that you pay.
There is,
And if you're lucky enough to be successful at it, fuck, you deserve it.
Yeah, totally.
You really
100%.
do. Because, there's a lot of people that aren't successful
That's right.
at
That's
it.
right, yeah.
What do you do to balance life and work? Personal life and work. I mean, have you found any routines or things? Are you any better at it? I mean, you kind of mentioned that you really struggle with it. Are you any better at it? And if you are, have you found anything that works in particularly well?
when people talk work-life balance, I think there's sort of this image that comes to mind of like taking lots of holidays and sort of being able to get home at night or in the afternoon and not focus on or think about work and not on the weekends and that sort of stuff. I think for me, work-life balance is a lot more fluid than that, a lot more fluid, most certainly. And I think a lot of it comes down to that enjoyment that you get from it. But each person has to find where that balance is like I know the amount that I work wouldn't be feasible for a lot of other people. They need more life than work.
Yep.
But for me, I find I get enough. I get enough of my life where I can be a workaholic and work, and that's cool. Maybe it comes down to sort of what you achieve and for me, there's a lot of happiness in my work. So I think that probably feeds that life bit a bit. Yeah, am I better at it? Probably not. Like when I was an employee, I worked a lot. So during that 13 years of working for someone else, I only ever had 4 weeks of annual leave. Never had a sick day.
In the entire 13 years?
In the entire 13 years.
Wow.
Yeah, that was it. And pretty much those 4 weeks of annual leave were forced on me. Yeah, but yeah, I'm probably not better at it.
Sounds like it's still a work in progress.
I know my partner, she gets frustrated by it at times. But I think it's that understanding that like we're in two different sort of parts of our lives a bit. So my partner, she works within a business, and I know she has no real desires to go out and start her own business. So for her, a lot of what she sees me doing doesn't make sense to her. She's like, why do you do it? Like, why do you just keep murdering yourself? Like
why do you do it? Have you answered her question?
That's like the $1 trillion question, I think.
Yeah. Do you know why you do it? Why you're so driven? Why you push yourself so hard? Why you've built this company? Why you sacrifice so much?
I don't know if I'd really have a very clear answer to it. Yeah, that's Yeah, I've been asked this dozens of times, and I still struggle for any sort of clarity on an answer. I think it's a mixture of things. I think it's partly that enjoyment that I get out of it is that you can almost sort of chase that a bit through life of sort of wanting that all the time.
Success, right? I mean, we enjoy things that we're good at.
Yeah, totally.
And so you've found something that you're good at and you've been successful at it. So it's fun to keep doing it.
Yeah, so... Yeah, and then part of it has also been, so since having my own business, it's also opened up more opportunities to be involved in other stuff outside of my business, which I get a lot of enjoyment out of as well, because it's I get to sort of lend my skills to not-for-profits and charities and philanthropic things that I get to be involved with. I get to meet a huge amount of really cool and different people that I probably never would have had opportunities to meet with. And then sort of through what I do with the so I'm involved with Chamber of Commerce's as well. I get to sort of help make the path hopefully a little bit easier and better for those that are now following me, that are now younger than me, that are going through that. They're thinking about a side hustle or going out on their own. And I sort of think, well, if I already know a bunch of people, then surely I can help introduce this person to those people. So that means that their path's easier.
Yep.
And I'm sure a part of that is because in the back of my mind, I remember
how hard it was, right?
Yeah, 6.5 years ago of going through.
Yep.
Yeah, eating, as a good friend of mine said at the time, eating a shit sandwich.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah,
yep.
So.
Hey, let's talk about leadership.
Sure.
Because you've sort of gone on this journey and now you're a leader of 30-odd people. And it takes completely different skills. Did you find that you were a natural leader when you started employing people? Has it been something that you've had to work on? Is it still a work in progress? Like, what's leadership been like for you?
It's definitely a continuous learning process.
Yep.
Definitely. Because, like leadership comes down to like the people that are a part of it. And as we should all know, how many people are alike?
Not many.
Super few.
Yeah.
And even then, people change a lot, even in short periods of time. So it's a forever learning process. Like during most of my life, I've been in a range of leadership positions, whether it's been for the business I work for or like sports teams or committees I've been a part of. So
you naturally do gravitate towards leading others?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yep.
I think a lot of that comes down to leading by example, is sort of showing. I think that, like, for me, that's always like the best way to lead people, is show people that, like, first off, you can walk the walk and you know what you're talking about.
Yep.
And that sort of sets that standard to them that, like, oh, it's nowhere near as hard as what I thought it was. Or there's someone here that's willing to do the hard yards just as much as they're asking me to do. So why not sort of tag along with them and be a part of that?
Yep.
So that would definitely be my leadership style, is lead by example.
Lead from the front, yep.
As much as I can't say I've ever been perfect at it, but I think the worst way to be a leader is yelling and screaming.
Yeah, well,
the least effective way of doing it.
And have you learnt that the hard way? I mean, have there been periods, where where you've had to really like have a good hard look at your leadership and kind of go,
it's like often. Like for me, I've hit that like in that spur of the moment where you just fly off the handle and you blow your top, and then afterwards you're like, geez, that really wasn't how it should have gone. I think it's been through watching a lot of other people, and I think one of the industries that I spent a lot of time around is that construction, and that's like their go-to leadership model.
Yell at people?
Like, yell and scream.
Yeah.
Demand the impossible.
Yeah.
Scream down the phone.
Probably like chefs as well. I think chefs do that.
I would
if Gordon Ramsay's anything to go by, you just fucking scream at people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the military, Navy SEALs, they seem to do a lot of yelling at each other.
Yeah, totally. So
but no, in business it's generally not the right way.
So I witnessed a lot of that. And like, having owned a business and like that's worked around that industry, I've been yelled at by a lot of site managers and foremen and often it'll come back to like, well, you could have avoided this problem like a week ago, a month ago or whatever, if you had just been talking to people. But like, you never know sort of, I think there's leadership is this huge problem in businesses, because often what we see is that those that become leaders are often the best performers in a business.
It was funny.
And that doesn't make a good leader.
No.
Like they can be the same person. A lot of cases they're not the same person. Yep. But we have this system in business where we're always rewarding the best achievers.
Absolutely.
So it almost feels like a natural reward of like, well, this person has been number one forever. We should make them the head of everyone else who wants to be number one. And you're like, it's very sound thinking, but there's no critical analysis of like,
are they a great leader?
Yeah, are they number one because their skill set is super refined in that area, and then and I see it with clients and a lot of people like I work around and know in business where they'll elevate someone into a leadership position, but then there's no support, there's no training, there's nothing for that person. And so they've gone from being a technician in a business or a service provider or whatever it is to then leading all these people. And the business owner will be like pulling their hair out going, I wish they'd just lead people. And you sort of go, like, did you show them anything? Did you train them? Do you meet with them every day or once a week? Or have you sent them on a course so that they can start to... Because often those people, like what you see with a lot of those people is they get pushed into leadership and they either go like super militant, effectively, where they're like yelling and screaming and beating the desk and like
especially because it's so easy for them because they're so good at it, like you said. Yeah. So for them, it's just like, fuck, this is so easy. What are you doing? You know, rather than actually kind of like sitting down with people and showing them and explaining it. This is not everyone, but I take your point. There's a lot of people. Yeah.
So it's a lot of like shoving it down people's throats of like, and there's a lot of frustration I think behind that because they go, well, I could do it.
Yeah.
That means you could do it. But then there's not like why can't you do it? Like, is there a challenge here?
Yeah.
Is there a learning issue here? And that goes just as much for the leaders as it does for those that are meant to follow. So you see them go quite militant, and then you see a lot of other leaders that go, well, I'll just do it myself. Mm-hmm. And so they just load themselves up more and more and more, because they sort of go, well, all of their performance is on me. So rather than sort of go through, say, a tough conversation or send someone on a training course or whatever it is to fix that person, they go, well, I don't want to have a bad spot, so I'll just pick it up and I'll do it, and I'll sacrifice myself so that we're still all good.
What about culture? What do you do in terms? I mean, is culture important in your organisation? And if it is, like, what are some of the things that have worked really well to drive culture?
Yeah, it is. It is important in our organisation.
And that's the latest buzzword, isn't it? If work-life balance was the last buzzword, culture is like
huge. Yeah, it's it's challenging within our business because so like about 80 to 90% of the work that we do as an organisation happens between 6 p.m. and 3 a.m. And almost all of our guys work by themselves. The best way that I've found within my business to try and breed any sort of culture is talk to them, talk to people, like just go and catch up with them, and like this face-to-face, go and talk to them. Is like, technology's great, text messages and emails and phone calls and all of that sort of stuff is awesome, and generally I try and just use that as like sort of just keeping tabs on everyone, making sure everyone's okay. But then as much as possible, go and see the guys. And for me, that comes back, I think, a bit to that leading by example, is like being willing to be out there in the middle of the night when you could be on the couch or in bed or whatever, sort of getting a bit of relaxation, is be out there and catch up with them. And because often, like, because they'll have other jobs or they've had other jobs before coming on working with us, they often associate seeing the boss or a manager with bad. If the boss is showing up, something's gone wrong. So they're coming out to effectively kick ass and get it fixed. Whereas I've tried to change that a bit and I'll actively catch up with our guys whilst they're working when there is nothing wrong. And often, like, the first question I'll get asked, what's wrong?
What's wrong, yeah.
What's wrong? I'll be like, nothing's wrong. And often they don't believe me. They think I'm like going to like subversively kick them at the end, sort of thing. And you just talk to them about their lives, what's going on, like how they're feeling. Because like especially within the cleaning industry, there's very, very, very few Australian cleaners. And this has been the case for at least a decade now. Because there's a lot of these foreign workers, is for a lot of them, most of their families and friends are back where they came from.
Yeah, right.
They have no one else. Like, a lot of them
have nobody.
Yeah. Then they'll go to work and they'll work by themselves. And if they're lucky, they might see a security guard. They might bump into someone working back late at the office. I'll often be like, hi, that's it, sort of thing. And being a cleaner myself, for a lot of cleaners, they would love to just chat to people more, because they don't have like an outlet every day to just talk about whatever. And so that's where I try and bring that culture in with them, because I want them to understand that when something goes wrong, it's okay for them to pick up the phone and call me and say, hey, this has gone wrong, whether it's with work or whether it's with their lives.
Yeah, because you've built that trust.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So it's and I think that starts to also breed a bit more independent thought with them, and sort of letting them sort of make critical decisions.
Hey, how do you drive quality control in what you do and in your business? Because you mentioned that a lot of your staff are transitionary. They might just do it for 6 months, 12 months, whatever. And therefore, how do you get them? Yeah, well, how do you drive quality? Because obviously that's important for you, right? Yeah. I mean, the last thing you want as a business owner is having clients unhappy with the work that's being done.
Yeah, it's like the first thing that I find it almost always comes down to is clear communication. Is that there's not an understanding of what the expectation is for them to do the work, and it's that leading by example and sort of going, okay, this is what I would do on this task, and you sort of do it yourself and you go, is that what you would do? Like, the overriding thing that I try and do with that quality control is breathe that pride into that work, into their work. Is I want them to be prideful of the task that they're doing. It's easy for some, not easy for all.
That's the secret spice, right, in the recipe. If you can get people that want to be proud of their work.
Yeah. Well, what I do is I run a bit of like an internal comp with some of our guys, especially the longer term ones, because they're the ones that can be sometimes most susceptible to drop in quality because the blinkers go on, they get a bit complacent, they think they know what they're doing all the time, they go into autopilot and they start missing things. So a bit of an internal comp with a group chat, and I'll get them to submit photos of the work that they've done. Yeah, but it's a constant thing.
Yep.
It is
driving that quality.
Yeah, absolutely. It's imagine that you're on a beach with a big beach ball, and beaches are naturally a bit of wind and that sort of stuff. Imagine how you're going to get a beach ball to the other end of the beach without just picking it up. You're going to sort of tap it along, but you can't just hit it once and then it goes to the end of the. You got to like guide it a bit. You got to, yeah. And I think that's a bit of what quality is that you got to sort of constantly sort of touch
like the
it,
bumper bowls,
and sort of just sort of keep it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Going down to the pins. Yeah. No, that's awesome, mate. Hey, we were talking before about happiness, and you mentioned from a business point of view, it's working with clients and making them happy makes you happy. I know you do a lot to give back as well. Talk to me about is it 10 by 10?
Yeah, 10 by 10.
Yeah. Talk to us about 10 by 10
Sure.
and how'd you get involved and what do they do?
10 by 10 is an organisation that was started by 3 young business owners in Sydney, where all 3 of them wanted to make a bigger impact around charity and philanthropic works. And they honestly thought that the only way that they could do that was through being old and really rich. That's what they saw in the world, was that you had to give away a lot of money to make a decent impact in any way, shape or form. And they thought, well, surely there's got to be a way to change this, and understanding that a lot of younger people are very disenfranchised by charity and philanthropic works because they see a lot of it as well. They see a lot of that. You've got to like give away literally billions to like make any impact at all.
Hard to compete with the Bill Gates Foundation, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So they applied the crowdfunding model to charity and giving. So the way the events run is, so there's a volunteer committee that's brought together of at least 10 people. That volunteer committee, they pick 3 charities that are local to them, meaningful to them. They find a venue that puts up food, they find drinks. So effectively, the aim is that all of the event costs are nil, so that they're all donated, so that as much money can get to the charities as possible. Then what that committee of 10 do is they get, each one of them get 10 of their friends, family, relatives, whoever, to come along. So that's where 10 by 10 comes from.
Yeah,
the title
awesome.
itself.
Yep.
Everyone, including that initial committee, they all buy a ticket to the event to the value of a minimum of $100 each. When they all show up on the night, they're given 2 $50 notes, which is their $100 ticket that they purchased. Then on the night, the 3 charities, they all pitch. So they get up, they get to explain who they are, what they are, and then they get to pitch for the funds.
Nice.
And they get to say, if you donate to us $3,000, $5,000, we're going to do this.
Nice. It's kind of like Shark Tank for...
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Right.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So the committee, they secure what's called the Dragon. So Dragon's Den is sort of where the ideas started to come from. So there's a dragon there to help sort of flesh out any answers, ask more questions. And then after the pitches, the attendees of the event, they then put their money where they want to. So there's 3 buckets, and they can split their money. So they can go $50 here, $50 there. They can put $100 in one. They can donate more money on the night, on the spot, so that they can give more money away. Every charity always walks away with money. And they know how much money they get on that night. So it's all tallied, it's all counted on the night, and it's announced so that people go, oh, okay, so $5,000 went here, $3,000 went there, whatever it is. So it's
awesome.
Yeah, so it's so it is very much pitched at a younger audience. So when we say younger, like under 45 sort of a crowd to get along and get involved. So so I'm just one person in a chain of many others trying to help make an impact.
Mate, this has been fascinating. We've talked about the last 20 odd years, the last 6.5, the journey that got you to start your own business, and what What a journey. I kind of said I'd rather get punched in the face than ever have to work for someone else again. You kind of got punched in the face and that forced you to start working for yourself.
Sure.
What does the next 6.5 years look like for you? What's on your horizon? I know you said you're not a huge goal setter, but have you kind of got a bit of a vision for, the next decade, which starts imminently?
Sure. Talio, I love it. I have no plans to exit it. I never started Talio with a vision of I'm going to cash out. And so with Talio, so the goal is to continue to improve as a business, to continue to grow, to continue to offer our services at a good level to our clients and potential clients in the future. I do want to continue to give back to the community, whether it's through not-for-profits or charities or through Chamber of Commerce or whatever it is that I think it's really important of us to pass those skills and those learnings and those connections back down to those that are going to be following us, because I think if we can make it easier for them, then what stops them? Like it's and like especially with some of the challenges that are on our horizon, climate change, huge, obviously, the amount of social injustices out there and that sort of stuff. So I couldn't say that I would be able to fix any of those, but if I can help in some way those coming behind us or those around us right now, you never know. They could be the next Gates Foundation.
Yep.
Yeah, I think beyond that, I'll keep chasing being happy.
Yeah, nice.
So, and whether that's been in different businesses, starting other businesses, being a part of other businesses, whether it's through that community sort of work and engagement and helping them. I'm not sure, but
happiness is the goal, right?
Yeah,
happiness is the goal.
Totally, man. Totally.
And if you could go back to day one, maybe that period 6.5 years ago, knowing everything that you've learnt over the last 6.5 years, and give yourself one piece of advice, what would it be?
Yeah, don't give up. Be persistent. Be resilient. Keep pushing. Because they're the ones that make it work.
Never give up is advice that so many people have said at that point in this question. Don't give up. And easier said than done though, right?
Yeah.
When there's been times when you've maybe really wanted to, what's stopped you from giving up?
The thing that I've always gone to, and like whenever I've lacked motivation or drive, or whatever it is like honestly, I just go and have coffee with people, and not necessarily clients or people I already know. Is just go and talk to people and listen to their stories, and they'll bring out your stories as well. And I think it reminds you a bit of like what you've done and where you've come from, and subversively, I think sort of helps sort of re-show you, hey, this is the value, or this is what you're chasing, this is what you're going for. I often do that, is just go and chat with people. And it's because you never know the stories you're going to hear, and sometimes you get that perspective of what you were talking about before, like how you're going to be sort of donating your time on Christmas Day, is you don't know what other people have gone through, and that can really give you a lot of perspective and go, geez, like,
we're pretty lucky, right?
Yeah. I know it might have been a crap week or not a great month, but
Nathan, this has been amazing. I've loved hearing your story. It's such an amazing story of resilience, going through what you went through, deciding, well, shit, this is the catalyst to start my own business, building it from a one-man band to 30 people. I'm sure the next 6.5 years are going to be just as exciting, if not more. So, mate, well done to you.
Thanks,
and it's a real inspirational story. So thanks for sharing.
Well, thanks for having me, and good chatting, man. Good chatting.
Cheers.